You know, when we think of this story, we often picture something quiet, maybe even peaceful. But if you really look at the source material, it's anything but. It's a political thriller, really. It's about a paranoid king, a hunted child, and a desperate cross-country escape for survival. And that's the question that kicks everything off. I mean, it's a classic setup for a reason, right? You've got the established power, and then suddenly this prophesied successor appears on the scene, and the answer, as we're about to see, involves spies, deception, and a frantic race against the clock. So the action doesn't start in some quiet backwater town. No, it kicks off right in the halls of power in Jerusalem. And the thing that gets the ball rolling isn't a miracle, but the arrival of these mysterious foreign travelers, the Magi, who show up and ask a very dangerous question.
Now you have to understand, walking into the court of King Herod and asking that's not like asking for directions. You're basically announcing a challenger to the throne. And with just those few words, a truly deadly plot is set in motion.
The text uses a very specific word here, disturbed. And this isn't just, mild irritation. For a famously paranoid ruler like Herod, hearing about a newborn king is a direct threat to his life's work, to his power. And that fear, it spreads through the whole capital like a shockwave. So what does Herod do? Well, he's a smart operator. He knows that to get rid of a threat, you first have to find it. So his first move is all about intelligence gathering. He calls in his top advisors and basically asks, all right, where is this supposed to happen? He's cloaking his real intent behind this sort of scholarly question. And just like that, his advisors give him the exact piece of information he was looking for. They pull it from an ancient prophecy, and it pinpoints a specific location, Bethlehem, a little town just a few miles away. The narrative is literally using prophecy to move the characters around like pieces on a game board. So now it all lines up. The Magi saw a sign in the sky, and Herod's own scholars looked at their scriptures and both pointed to the exact same place. The target is locked. It's Bethlehem. And now Herod can move from gathering information to taking action. Okay, so Herod's got the location, but he can't just send an army. That would cause a huge panic, and it would prove the rumors were true. No, he needs a sneakier way to do this, a more surgical approach. He needs a really devious plan.
And this is where you see the deception in action. It's just brilliant in a terrifying way. The Magi are sincere. They say, we've come to worship him. So Herod just takes their words and twists them. He says, yeah, great, go find him, and then report back to me so I can come worship him too. He's trying to turn these holy men into his own unwitting spies.
And the Magi, who have absolutely no idea they're walking into a trap, they go and do exactly what they said they would. They follow the star, they find the child, and they complete their mission. The text even says they were overjoyed. They think this is the happy ending, having no clue that their report back to the king is supposed to trigger an assassination.
But just as Herod's trap is about to be sprung, the story pulls out a wild card. It introduces this recurring plot device to counter the king's power, the dream warning. It's this crucial narrative tool where characters get life-saving intel, literally, in their sleep.
And that's exactly what we see happen. The Magi get warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, so they make a very dangerous decision. They disobey a direct order from a king, and they just slip away, taking a different route home. And that leaves Herod back in his palace, waiting for information that is never, ever gonna come. His plan has failed.
So now, the whole focus of the story just shifts on a dime. The Magi are gone, and the child and his family, they're no longer just some abstract political threat. They are now the very specific target of a furious, outmaneuvered tyrant. The chase is officially on.
And there it is again, that dream warning. Only this time the message is absolutely terrifying. The angel's warning to Joseph, the child's father, isn't some gentle hint. It's a direct, urgent command. Get up, flee the country right now, because the king is actively searching for your son to kill him.
And so they do. Under the cover of darkness, the family becomes refugees, escaping to Egypt. And once again, the narrative makes a point to tell us that this desperate flight for their lives is also the fulfillment of another ancient prophecy. It's like their personal story of survival is being woven into a much larger, pre-written cosmic drama. Meanwhile, back in Jerusalem, Herod finally realizes what happened. He's been played, and the text uses these two incredibly strong words. He was outwitted and he was furious. This isn't just political frustration. This is the pure, white-hot rage of a despot who has been publicly humiliated.
So what does a furious, outwitted tyrant do? He lashes out. He falls back on the one single piece of intel he managed to get from the Magi. Before they left, he'd secretly asked them when the star had first appeared, and their answer gave him a time frame: 2 years.
And this is the horrific result. He can't find the one child he's looking for, so he decides to eliminate all possibilities. He takes that 2-year time frame and turns it into a weapon, ordering the slaughter of every single male child in the entire region of Bethlehem, 2 years old and younger. It's the story's absolute tragic, violent peak.
But the story doesn't quite end in that tragedy. After the king's rage has burned itself out, we move into the final act. The family's in exile, the main bad guy is gone, but as you'll see, the journey home has its own set of dangers.
And kind of fittingly, the news that the threat is gone comes from the same place the warnings did: a dream. Joseph is told that Herod is dead, and it's finally safe to go back to Israel. The immediate danger is over. They can start the long trip home.
But of course, there's a complication. The tyrant himself might be gone, but his legacy of fear is still very much alive. His son, Archelaus, is now ruling in Judea, and he has a reputation for being just as brutal as his father. When Joseph hears this, he's terrified. The threat has a new name, but it feels just as deadly.
So, for the fourth and final time, a dream warning saves the day. This last message tells Joseph to change course, to avoid Archelaus and Judea completely. It guides the family north to the district of Galilee, where they finally settle down in a new town.
When you look at it this way, you see a journey not just of miles, but a pure survival. From being a target at birth in Bethlehem, to becoming a refugee in Egypt, to a cautious return to their homeland, and finally finding a safe place to live in Nazareth. It's a childhood that was shaped at every single turn by pursuit and escape.
And so the child is finally safe, and his new home, Nazareth, ends up fulfilling one last prophecy about who he was supposed to become. Which really brings the whole thing full circle, doesn't it? The threat of a newborn king launched this incredible, desperate escape across nations, and now that story of his escape is over. But, as the prophecies kept reminding us, the story of his rule, that was just getting started.